So I'm just going to share how this document's built up based on how things need to be uploaded to ASIN. We're going to keep running notes on this meeting. So this will be the only agenda we use, and we will just kind of keep adding dates to the bottom. So what we have in this first block is just documents that you'll need to access at some point as we're doing this work together. Once we start writing the standard, or this committee starts writing the standard, we can put that document in here as well so that we always have access to everything. What we're gonna do for today is we're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna have Constance talk about the standard. We're gonna make our team agreements, and then we're gonna talk about what the goals are and the timelines. So the timelines are really important because we need to get faculty feedback. This committee is critically important because students do not know where to find stuff. So there's major student outreach that needs to happen because the students will be interviewed as a part of the ASIN process. And then snow will be a big part of this because we do need a representative attending our department meetings. So that's going to be really important. And my thought was that we could get Snow more active in participating and coordinating some of this as well, so they can really own the process. So our notes from the meeting will go here, and then we will get the pre-work going for next meeting. The other goal is to get the next meeting within about the next 2 weeks so that we can have all of our pre-work done and then establish the plan going forward from there. Any questions about that? No? Okay. For those who are unable to attend, I'm just recording for you. We do need you to make sure your calendar is current to schedule that next appointment in 2 weeks. If we find that that doesn't work for you, we're going to ask you to step off of this committee and step into one that works better for your schedule. All right. Constance, take it away.
Okay. But ultimately, we do need to ensure that everyone's calendar is up to date. All we can see is busy or not busy. It's not that we see all the details. But this is a requirement. Faculty do need to drive the process. So when we have individuals who are staff, so if Gabe's part of it, if Michelle's a part of it, they're there for a different reason. They're there as a support to one of our standards, but the faculty are supposed to be driving this. So you guys are on standard 3, which is students. It can be both a fun standard and one that's a little nerve-wracking because in this one, it's not all just us. If you've pulled up the standard and taken a look at it, they're linked in there. So the standard, the 2023 standards and criteria, that's where you're going to find the details that you're looking for specific to your standard. There is standard 3, but there are 10 sub-criterion. Don't become afraid of that because some of it's easy, like 3.1. Do we have front facing that we are ASIN, how to reach ASIN, and how to confirm our ASIN status? Check, done. 3.1 is done. Okay, so some of this is going to be a part of the redesign in the website that is currently happening now that they have the background architecture done. But then when you go in and you click on that standard 3 under students and you start scrolling down, you're actually going to see it'll start with the standard. It'll tell you what that standard is, and then there'll be smaller bullet points underneath it. So right now if you were looking at criterion 3.2, the following nursing program or governing organization policies are publicly accessible, current, non-discriminatory, and implemented as published. Justification is provided when nursing policies differ from the governing organization. What this means is when I have been going around telling everybody, you've got 3 handbooks. And here's why you have 3 handbooks. When they say governing organization, they're talking about Phoenix College specifically. So do our students still have to abide by those rules that are in there? And if those rules are different than our nursing program, why? Okay. So as far as admissions, progression, graduation, complaints and grievance procedures, and then tech requirements. We're really lucky that when we look at this, we already have pretty much we have a standardized admission, right? We don't get to change it. Our progression is very well defined in our nursing handbook. It's a different policy than the main, right? Than Phoenix College's progression of a student. All we do is we talk about that difference and we pull our regulatory information in. So that's like how you kind of tease them apart, you speak to it, and then what's the evidence that goes with it. Sometimes the evidence is located very simply in your syllabi.
Mhm.
It could be evidence that is on our website, in which case we provide a link to the website, exactly where they can find it. All of our handbooks are front facing. So this would also pull in the Maricopa Nursing website because they have those standards. We
Mhm.
can do a couple of things as you guys are kind of looking through that evidence that we have. We kind of make notes on where is it located? Where is the evidence located, or where would we potentially find that evidence? Because if you can't find it, one of us probably can. I can ask for a historical record somewhere. Um, graduation rates, we already know what our graduation rates, that's the data that I'm collecting. And like I said, we're still in 3.2. Formal complaints and grievance procedures, that's alluded to in the Maricopa nursing, but the actual grievance process is in the Phoenix College. So some of them, like I said, they're going to filter between two, but they want to see that we are not a college of nursing, we are a department, and so we have to have alignment. That's what so many of our things have been done with our scheduling, pay, trying to ensure that we have that alignment, and it's taken us 4 years to get there so that we can honestly answer criterion 3.2. um some of them are, about use of technology, lots of things about formal resolution of complaints, student records. This is why Gabe is also a part of this. The student records component of it, again, is easy. What's not easy on the student one is there's no standard for what we keep in their file, because what we have to have for a student in a file is like their compliance information, all of these, but all of those are kept in different places. Mesa Community College just shared with me this morning a document that they've started creating, kind of highlighting where all of these things are located. It's really important that we are clear about where the things are housed, and that we come up in this standard a face sheet that works for us of the things that we include in there, like signature pages, anything a student signs goes in. But we no longer keep their applications. That's in CRM. We never see them. We keep their compliance items inside of American Data Bank. So
Mhm.
we don't get that anymore. It's electronic, and then we have a file. That file that we have, that's why it's between double locks. So it's behind a locked door in a locked cabinet with another bar that crosses over it, and only Gabe and I have access to it. So they want to hear us talking about that. But the other thing, once you kind of figure out what that face sheet looks like for students, one of the big things is they are going to randomly pull, and I'm talking random. I will give them an entire list of the students who are here in fall of 25, and they will simply highlight random selection of 10% or more of our student files. We will have to pull those files. Once we pull the files, then they will actually start going through them. So we have to ensure that whatever we state for student files, that we actually have it. And that means all of every active student that we have. That one's probably the biggest lift here in kind of piecing out what do we need, what don't we need.
Mhm.
We maintain the records. We also have the ones as we pull them, and Gabe can talk to you more about that. We maintain those again between triple locks in a storeroom for the amount of time we need to keep student records. And then once a semester at the beginning, he takes the ones that we can shreds them, and that's what keeps opening up space for us. Um, the ones that are probably not going to be as known to some of the individuals on this are the ones where we start talking about student support services. And they are talking about student support within, student support outside. This is where we're starting to talk about our connections to financial aid, because financial aid is actually one of the last ones on here. When do we talk to them about it? When do we talk about default? Those pieces, that's not something you usually do, but it's something that we have financial aid do. So we just want to make sure that we are doing our best to address each one of these criterion. Um, a lot of it are students informed, um, compliance with Title IX, Title IV, So if you're not sure what those things are, those are about federal loan distributions and then about accommodation or adjustments for students. But there are pretty self-explanatory, but they are going to require that you find your peers and the contacts and the other departments on main campus. I'm going to pause right there.
Did you say standard Title 5 or 4?
I said Title 4, Title 9, like
Okay,
all of these
perfect.
are going to roll up in there.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about what you see in the criterion right now?
One quick question.
Yes.
So when they sign the handbooks that we do at the beginning of the semester in Canvas, have them take a quiz that they read them all. We're supposed to be printing all those out and putting them in the files.
If they sign it, because we don't have access to Canvas once it goes away.
Okay.
Yep. So it's a change in that process, or it's a mass download at the end of it. Because we should see it, especially with each new iteration, even though they upload it once when they first come in, there's no standard process yet at Maricopa where that American Data Bank one goes non-compliant on July 1 of each year. If it did do that, it would force them to do the new signature page out of the new handbook, because that's when it goes into effect every 7/1. I've asked Margie for this. If we can get that, it would clear the whole thing up, and then we wouldn't have to worry about it. And the first signed handbook form would be there with all the rest of them, because it kind of in American Data Bank, it doesn't delete them. You can just keep all of them in there. So, but that would be the easiest fix on something like that. But for right now, this is where we're at. And there is in the other document, like, so this criterion, and then there is another one. And in that one, it actually gives you some actual questions to ask. I think that's under the program. So when you get into the program guidelines, you go directly 2 years on page 31, I think. Now here again, when you look at this one, it's the same standard. The standards haven't changed. The big change has been between 2017 and 2023. So what you read in the 2017 report, you have to make sure it's been a crosswalk over to this, to the 2023 standards. Some of the old criterion have been adjusted, have been removed. Tables have been removed. Different requirements that we had before don't exist anymore. They're really looking for super concise on this. But the nice one about the program one, it gives you, again, the criterion, and then it gives you very specific focused questions to ask of yourself and the team. Because these are the same types of focused questions that we ask when we show up if you don't have something we're looking for. Or if it wasn't clear in your meeting minutes, if it wasn't clear in the document or the evidence, these are the questions that we pull to start asking people when we show up. So you got to answer them no matter what. If we answer them in advance in the narrative and we have strong evidence for them to crosswalk, then it turns into only conversations when they show up with us versus us trying to dig for information. So these questions are really helpful. It then goes on to say if there is required evidence or recommended evidence. So they have required means we have to do it. If it says required table, that's a table I have to fill out. If it says required or recommended that it's a syllabi, then a syllabi goes up. They will also just give you some examples. Okay, so if there's no required, then they'll say these are where you might find the answers to these questions. And we won't have all the types of, evidence that they describe, because the evidence is being used for any pre-license. So diploma, bachelor's, or ADN. The only time the ASIN standards start to deviate is when we get to graduate programs. So we just have to make sure that we're answering it to our best of our ability and we don't make anything up. If we identify a gap, that's a hard stop. This is a bullet we have to address. We cast it out a little bit wider and make sure we truly don't have that. And if it isn't, it's immediately an agenda item to have a conversation about. This is something in the new 2023 standards. We could not find evidence. We have looked for it. How are we going to address this gap? Then we write to that and we give them a plan. But that's it. Even if you find something, you're like, I can't answer that question. It's okay. We still have a path forward on it. But this new state, like they didn't have this in 2017. This 2023, where they came out with the questions, I was like, now that's how you let a program prepare. There's no surprises. You know exactly what we're looking for. You know exactly what the expectation is, and everything crosswalks to Board of Nursing. So if there's something here, crosswalk it to Board of Nursing. If the financial aid, we crosswalk it to Phoenix College, because we don't do the financial aid, right? But we have to address it. Because we have a lot of students going out and they are absolutely in debt at the end. So all of these will be standing and linked. They will not be edited, except for when I upload the teased out 3. So each of the standards will be teased out of the larger 170-page document, and then the 170-page document from 2017 will be there. I am encouraging everybody, you need to still read standard 1 and 5 of the old report, because that becomes the new standard 1 in 2023. That's about our mission and values. It's about shared governance for students and faculty. It's about where do faculty have an opportunity to be a part of leadership outside of nursing. So when I kind of push for some of those, that's why, because I know they're looking for that. They're as a part of a quality indicator for the faculty. But we have to describe everything. We have to even explain why faculty in nursing have a different loading formula for their labs, because that's not a standard for every faculty. But it's all linked. I will add the 3s. So the big ones with this is we have to establish meeting patterns. We have some goals that we would like to see this for this semester, and then what it's going to look like for next semester. Because as Marilyn said, we have a lot of work to do. When I asked the students about end of program learning outcomes, none of them in any block could tell me what they were, how many there were, or where to find them. That's going to be huge when the ASIN shows up. One of the meetings they have is with students, no faculty, no directors, just the student. And they're going to ask them about their ability to have input into their learning resources. And guess what? They had input in the design of the building. They had input in the furniture. They had input in their VR. They had input in their new charting system. This is why I'm driving everyone. So like students have to have a say. Ask them. Just ask them. So all of that, they're going to talk to the students without us around. Same, they're going to do it with our clinical partners. They're going to do it with our administration, although I will be able to be at that one. And then they're also going to have a faculty only. I can't be at that one. That's all you guys. You have to be able to speak to more than just your standard. And that's why I really want you to talk about number 1. When the other groups come to you, especially like curriculum, and they start asking you in each block for some like examples of student assignments and things like that, make sure you provide great ones. And then you would be speaking to that when the ASIN team comes and talks to the faculty. Because when they ask you about every standard straight through 1 through 5. So they're going to ask you about outcomes. So this isn't like you only get to learn for your little piece. What you're doing is you're learning for the team, sharing the information out. And then I'm going to pull all the narratives that are created by standard, pull them into one document and create one voice, and then push it back out so everyone knows exactly what we're submitting. And then I can't see the other ones that you had on there, Marilyn.
Ready, stand by, Blue Eyes.
I think it was about the standards that we're going to put within this team.
Is this what you mean? Or are you talking about ACE
No, for the meeting norms, the pattern,
Oh, that's
the
right.
expectations, there it is,
In our
attendance.
team agreements, yeah.
Couldn't remember what she called it. So Marilyn's already said calendars must be current, right? Busy is fine, but you have to have this on there so that we can find the time to meet. It's faculty driven. And I'm telling this to everybody. I will not put myself in a position where my name is associated with a document to an accrediting agency where it is not 100% truthful. So if faculty did not participate, then faculty did not participate. And I won't be placed in that position. So everyone really does need to be able to participate, keep their calendars up to date. It's just a good practice anyway, whenever we're setting meetings. Attendance is absolute. You have to show up. You have to do the work in this. We can't have two people pulling an entire standard. I won't be at every meeting. Marilyn won't be at every meeting. She's going to help facilitate and pull some stuff together so there's a common understanding of what's going down. But we still need each of these to continue to work. So attendance, if you are not going to be there, then this team could opt to record and post like we are doing today. This suggestion was only made because it doesn't work if some individuals are not present. So we want to find a time that's going to work for everybody, if possible. And the first step is getting the calendars up to date. How do you guys feel about recording these? Either as historical document or as, just as a historical document.
I mean, I think it's good to record in general because what if you forget, like, oh, wait, what did we talk about here? Or going back to recall information, it makes it easy if you have a recording.
Okay. And I think, doesn't Zoom also allow for a transcripting?
Yeah.
I think so.
So that could be also help. I'm working hard. I'm trying to get on a grant for AI teaching assistant that'll take notes for us. All right. So team vote.
Yeah,
All in favor?
recording's good.
Okay. And then those individuals who are not here, if you have any kind of strong objection, I highly recommend that you take it to the entire standard 3 team. But you will have to make this decision for yourselves. I'm not making this one for you. And so how often to meet is a big one. I will say right now, if you meet once a month, the work will not get done more than likely. There will be some conversations, especially because your standard does deal with information that you may not be as familiar with, like financial aid, the Phoenix College Handbook and policies, that kind of language. So how often do you feel that you would like to meet for this?
I don't know. I'm thinking initially we probably need to do every couple of weeks. I would also almost vote for a working meeting on this one so that when we can just sit down and actually help each other find the stuff. So we pull up, start with the one, and then sounds like we're going to have to be looking at a lot of documents. So between all of us, we can have those up and find them to be able to reference. But I don't know. What do you think, Shalice?
Documents and web pages too, because a lot of this is on main campus web, the
Yep.
Correct.
UC's main page, but bi-weekly, twice a month.
And there's always the opportunity if you guys are like, okay, we found all this new stuff. We should get together and just figure out, do we include it? Do we not include it? It's better to have more evidence and pare it down than not enough and have them start hunting for it when they show up. Hate that.
Yeah.
Well, and if we have more anyway and decide to remove it, we can always have a document that's like, these are the things we took out.
Yep.
And then if they ask and we're like, oh, actually, we did have that. We just didn't.
And that's great because that's all we need is in those ASIN folders that we have. Is if there's evidence, because what will happen is I have to convert everything to PDFs. Any evidence that you find
Mhm.
That's the reason that these meeting minutes are going to be rolling so that we can reference a date on a single document versus reference 25 documents.
Yeah.
And then I have to upload all of that into the ASIN portal. So everything is electronic, whereas in 2017, we sent them a thumb drive and anything we missed, we missed. We had to do a big printed copy of the book. We had to have printed evidence, all of this stuff. All of that's changed now. So it's much more streamlined, and the things they're going to be doing on campus will be very minimal. Like it's usually about finances versus anything else.
So all in favor of a bi-weekly meeting to come, and that bi-weekly pattern can include working meetings.
Yeah, working meetings are beneficial, I feel like. So we're putting all of this on a document and putting it in the shared drive. Whatever we're doing, where we're locating stuff, answering the questions, is that what you want us?
My thought was that we would put it in our standard 0 on the shared drive. So then we have each committee's, activity. Cause the 0 is the table of contents essentially,
Yeah,
right? That can have all these documents,
And
but
we'll just put the proofs in the standards folders.
yeah,
Is that where
we
they
can
need to
do
go?
like a standards committees folders in there. That was my thought, Constance, unless you have a different recommendation.
Yeah, you guys will, honestly, what you'll start with is a blank document that has the criterion, right? This is standard 3, criterion 1, and then that's the first header. What do you know about it? Where's number 2? What do you know about it? And then each one of those, just to make it in the same spot, like what evidence, because this is like a brain dump document that will eventually very quickly roll up into the actual narrative. So in there, you would say, yes, it's front facing on both the Maricopa Nursing website and it is on the Phoenix College Nursing website and it's on the Phoenix, like we have front facing ASIN accreditation everywhere, right? And now you've said it. And if it's a quick one, if it's working, grab the link. And now we've got it linked. You could grab a screenshot to add right there. And then if they really needed, like the links usually work well for a electronic document because then they just go right to the website and they can see it. So if you do it that way, it gets less overwhelming and it kind of keeps you on track.
Yeah.
Because you're answering a question, saying and it's the same thing that we're doing with the HLC assurance argument right now. I'm doing standard 5 and here's what it is. Here's the evidence. Question, evidence, and narrative statement. And then it all starts blending together. Everyone will be ready to do their doctorate after this. No, it's going to be good.
Okay, so how often to meet? How long would you like the meetings to be?
I don't think an hour is long enough.
Do we think an hour and a half, or do we need more? If we're meeting every 2.
Hour and a half, 2 hours.
With the 2 hours, it ends 10 minutes early so that people can transition to the next thing. So that would be a 110 meeting. Let's see, 2 hours ends at the 50. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's 110 minutes.
Yeah. Vote. Say aye.
I'm not a voting member.
Okay. I'm gonna say, how do you want to approach the evaluation of standard? I think that goes, I'm gonna move this brain dump process, okay, to there. And then some of the questions, and you might need the other members of the team here, are how you want to divvy stuff up. So some people you can look at all the standards and get like a sense and then be like, okay, well, this person's doing these 2, you're doing this one, and then kind of divvy it up that way. That was some of the things that we had recommended to curriculum committee. Nick? Just to kind of split it that way. That way everybody's not doing the same thing. Or you guys can decide, all right, we're gonna do this one and everybody's gonna find this stuff. But I think that might be a waste of time. Up to you. So any ideas potentially about the approach? So when our other team members listen to the recording, they have a sense.
Kind of thinking maybe at that next meeting when we have
Mhm.
more people, we can decide that, because we still gonna, everyone needs to look at the standard before we meet again, right?
Yes, everyone, before you guys meet, you need to review what happened in 2017 and what it said. Keep in mind, we had a curriculum change in 2018.
Mhm.
Small one, but it was still a curriculum change. And then the standards changed in 2023. So for you guys, it's going to be really important to read the old standard, read what the new standard's asking for, and those two things together will give you a better sense of what we need to do.
So all of that is in the pre-work for your next meeting.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, sorry, I got lost here in our
Nope,
team.
that's okay. Just making sure we touched everything.
Complete pre-work and side. And a substandard. So,
There's,
this, go ahead.
I was gonna say, theirs doesn't necessarily flow over into the other blocks like curriculum does.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if we can delete this because it's more,
Well,
unless we're talking about block specific as far as the student-centered information. I remember you, in learning about this, you mentioning, how do we communicate with the students when changes happen? What are examples of that? Like, we have a syllabus addendum. How do we communicate that? Where is it housed? So what is that something or?
Well,
well,
and then you got the student course too. A lot of announcements go in there. So that would probably be a good place to put a lot of this stuff. Unless
you-
it's course specific, then we
No,
put it on ours.
nothing under here is gonna be course specific.
Okay, so I'll take,
Okay, okay.
This is going to be program, but those when you're going to find that your hardest one or the one that's going to have the most meat in it is going to be the one that starts talking about the resources available. That's
Mhm.
when we start talking care alerts. How do you identify that they need them? We talk about Michelle is huge in this one. What are the things that Michelle is doing to support that financial aid, counseling, having advising in our build, like all of those things? That's probably going to be the heaviest lift, because while I may understand where all those connections are, you guys now have to understand where those connections are. But additional resources, like you're going to read, and that's why it's important to read the other standards as well, because you would think that Corinne's a resource for students for their success is her doing those open lab days to get comfortable in the VR, right? But that actually also falls under the use of technology and orientation under curriculum.
Mhm.
So some things may have some overlap. It'll just be how we build the story, because that's all this is. It's a story about who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
So just dump it in there, and then if it sounds like it fits, put it there. And then once we start writing, then everyone can kind of have a decision on, does it make the most sense there, or should it be moved someplace else, or do we just use it as a transition to what's to come? Maybe we should make Marilyn write the whole thing.
Mhm. Or maybe, even like that one, maybe that's a brief discussion here, but then the actual meat of that particular is gonna be in the curriculum component.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you can do those references. I always say, as long as you answer the questions truthfully and honestly, we're usually okay.
Mhm.
The ASIN accreditors don't tend to go rogue off of the questions that help provide that clarity. They might ask some guiding questions, like, we know you have it, we saw it, but you can't speak to it. Like, where would you find this? because we ask the faculty sometimes the same questions as the students, just in reverse. So students, how do you get to participate in the decision making about your learning environment? Faculty, how do you provide opportunity for students to have a say in the things that they do in your classroom? Same question, they're just getting two different lenses. Because if the students say, we never have say, and then the faculty are like, oh, we give them all of this say. Yeah. Don't you all want to be ACEN accreditors now? Takers? I cannot.
I would do it for the travel.
Right. I'm like, it was a thought when we were at the one conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's always better to have more than one person who has that level of knowledge and understanding. And you really do learn a lot.
Mhm.
Like I always tell everyone, make sure you're solid in your practice first. But once you are, it's a wonderful way to learn about the regulatory responses of boards of nursing across the country. So different.
Yeah.
Forgot about the goals. I just got to let OD in. He's dying.
The goals.
And when ACEN is nationalized, like national standards, but not every program's the same.
Correct.
Yeah. So
But they have to base it off ACEN.
So we have our national accreditation standards for quality. That's what ACEN is. But ACEN refers back to your alignment with your regulatory and governing agency. So alignment to the Board of Nursing in your state, because for nursing, we are nationally licensed and state regulated.
Mhm.
It's nationally accredited, state regulated. So every state is different. Every state's different.
Yes, they are. Very much so.
Yeah. Like the community colleges are just now getting accredited in California.
Wow.
Yep. I've never seen so many initial accreditations. And they all have amazing outcomes. That wasn't a thing for California. Here it's a requirement
Yeah.
for our state regulations. So, but yeah, the state regulations define who a nursing program administrator is going to be, the qualifications, the expectations of faculty, like the regulatory board says that. The ACEN language says a director must have enough time to do their duties, which I've never been any place where that's ever been the case. ACEN says you must have adequate faculty to meet outcomes. They don't give a specific, that's not their job. They also don't say you can't do something. So ACEN, every time you may hear something come up, oh, well, we can't because of accreditation. They're actually misspeaking. Accreditation does not tell you can't do something. They love innovation. When I brought up Marilyn's thought of doing her final exam through way of simulation, they were like, oh, that would be amazing. So it's not ACEN, it's our regulatory boards that hold us. So sometimes that's helpful for everyone to understand. But ACEN's not
super empowering. Like when I was putting this document together, I really had to work to find the resources for this document for everyone. Like I had to dig through everything, like the state board stuff. I found stuff. I mean, we're not new. All of us have decades under our belt of experience as nurses. And like, I had no idea where to find some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's very hard to locate.
Very empowering. It's overwhelming, but it's empowering at the same time.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, I did want to talk about this momentum piece. So these are the goals we have for each committee and the timeline associated with it so that we have two opportunities. So fall to establish what we need to fix and roll for spring, and then spring, what still needs to be addressed to go into the report with the plan. And then the final one is relative to outgoing. So we attempted to do this to like address each standard at the department meeting, and it was unsuccessful for many different reasons. But we need to establish a plan as a program on how we're gonna visit these standards ongoing always, so that everybody's not struggling and rushing, to figure out the standards, it's helpful, especially when we onboard new faculty and things like that. So here's the momentum piece, and then I just wanted to kind of pop that in around, who can help us or who can help this committee, you know, um, who else do we need to come in and address something for students? So it's just an example of, Megan and Roberto, because Megan does financial aid, Roberto counseling, or, who would those departments like to delegate, you know? And as far as I understood, Constance, you've been preparing all the leaders for this visit, so they will not give you pushback if you ask for something or if you have a need. So everyone is aware of where we're at in the process and that asks will be coming. You're on mute, Constance.
As far as the financial aid piece, that's why you've also seen me going in and having the conversation of when I asked to come in, and I'm telling the students, if you have financial aid, talking to them about what withdrawals mean, checking before they withdraw, ensuring that they have a plan in place for repayment. And I bring the joke, like, you guys chose a profession, they will always find you. Like, we're licensed and they will always find you. So have a plan in place, because that 6 months goes really quick.
Yeah.
Really quick. But that's a part of the how do the students know about defaults?
Mm.
But that's not I'm not an expert in financial aid. So what they're looking for is, if you're not the expert in financial aid, who is and who's talking to them, and when does it happen? So financial aid, when you look at the 2017, same financial aid people that we've had before, they're actually, you'll see when they first introduce them, how they walk them through the financial aid and default conversations, all of the master promissory note things that they have to do, the exit counseling. Like, so much of this is just through FAFSA anyway.
Mhm.
But they will actually, in my finance sections, they're going to ask for a loan default rate for our school and our students. That's the stuff. You don't have that. We have to get the default for our nursing students from them. We have to have it by our department, and then we have to have what our governing organization is. So that's not work you'll do. That's work, though, that you will drive to the people who have to give us the information. Which makes it, that makes this part nice. And if I have learned anything interesting, I'm going on I have a site visit in the first or second week of October at a very large organization, and we will be applying the 2023 standards to them. And this is the first time I'm not doing outcomes. I'm actually doing students. So I'll be doing standard 3, which will be a new one for me. I usually don't do it. But there's always something that I learn every time. Every standard I write, I learn something new.
Give us tips when you come back.
Yeah.
Yep, I can't talk about any of the details of the specifics of anywhere that I've gone. Like, it's hardcore. I could not have any kind of business relationship with a school that I've been on an accreditation site visit. I think it's for like 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Did we hit everything?
We did, and it is 10:59.
Girl. Love
And
this for us.
I am attaching that overall a report.
Thank you. And as soon as I'm done with this, I have an hour, and so I'm going to separate the other standards out, so that I know you're seeing. I tell you, it's on the list. I just couldn't read it. I couldn't read that, and I couldn't read the Canva notice that I wrote down. I swear I'm like one of our students right now. I don't know whether I'm coming or going sometimes.
Well, it's funny because then I've been sharing this transparency, like, what is Marilyn's role? Like, I'm not writing this stuff. I can't be in the meetings with you because I'm technically considered an administrator based on how my load is pushed out. But I am like kind of like project manager, like making sure, like, is everybody meeting? Are you documenting? You know, so like, you know, if I'm putting on the heat or super direct, it's because I'm trying to make sure we, you know, push forward, and, you know, we're always going to have competing priorities. So, you know, just like, you know, share with me if there's an issue or a barrier. I can help by scheduling meetings I come to, I can take notes. You know, I'm essentially here to support and kind of make sure the ship keeps moving forward. So that includes Constance.
Yep. No,
Yep.
it's and we are actually in a really great place. I know that from the more global view that I'm looking at it. I know that we have the things. I know that we could write this right now and have all the information we needed, but I can't hold the key to this one. The faculty and the staff really have to have a deeper understanding of what our program is and what we do or don't do well, so that we can move forward from this point. So it's actually a really great time for accreditation to show up when we have so many still relatively new faculty. They haven't been through an accreditation before. It's good to get an understanding that the words that are coming out of my mouth sometimes are actually coming from an accreditation lens of how are we going to get through this? Like, we're not doing the things, or we're doing the things well. We are doing so many things well. Like, you guys have got really, you've done so much work in mapping, in lesson plans, in making sure those assignments are not just busy work, that you're intentional in your labs. Like, we're doing the things, and our pass rates are reflective of that. So you guys need to hear, like, this is, we're good. I just have to lead everyone into a spot where you know how good we are going into this. But I'm not worried. Now I'm worried that people can't talk to standard 5. That I'm worried about. I'm worried that you can't speak to our outcomes, that you can't speak to that part of it, but we got time. Like, we got time. That's
All right.
it.
Well, thank you, everyone. I will connect. I gotta figure out if I'm gonna make like a YouTube page or what I'm gonna do with the recordings. Because I think that part of the Zoom license is that recordings go away after the time period. So I'll probably connect make a Zoom I mean a YouTube page or something like that.
Yeah, you'll have to download and then you can put them on YouTube as unlisted, so just the link will.
Correct. And it has a function where only a person with a phoenixcollege.edu email can access it.
I was gonna say, there's nothing wrong with having, as long as it's, you know, secured with only us. And actually, accreditation work is public facing. So this is no secret.
Okay,
We're
cool.
we're not sharing any individual student identifying information. We're not sharing any faculty student, you know, identifying kind of stuff. None of the protected type information. This is just about what are we doing? And again, we're public facing at
Okay.
a public serving institution.
Thank you.
So
We don't have to worry.
we do not make the PC ASIN accreditation channel, go for it, and then lock it down.
Sounds
But
good.
we can, whoever needs to see it, it's good for them to have the recordings. It's good for them to understand the conversations that are happening behind the scenes.
Perfect. All right. Well, I will go ahead and stop this recording. And as soon as it buffers and does all of its fabulousness, I will communicate to the team.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.